How are you? Because I can't even, it was in the summer when we last spoke. It was a while ago at the start of lockdown, actually. How's this year been for you?
You know what? I think initially it was kind of a bit of a sort of mad adventure to start with. You know, coming back to the UK, not really knowing how serious the whole thing was. You know, not really knowing what it was going to be. I mean, if you'd have said at the beginning, right, you're going to not work for best part of a year, and you won't see this person, that person, it was. I think, you know, as I said, I think it was the removal of the spontaneity that was the sort of big pressure. You know, it's like suddenly you can't just, you know, go out and have a cup of tea with someone. You can't just meet someone on a whim, which is very me. I'm not a scheduled person. I'm not here a lot. So when I am here, I like to just kind of, you know, not really go, you know, just go with the flow, not sort of arrange things. But there's also been lots of good things about it, you know, in terms of, you know, finishing things, you know, doing some work on myself, just, you know, doing things that I forgot to do when I was busy in the Matrix, you know, just kind of saying, "Oh, let's do this." And you know, I make art, so I've been doing that, and I've been productive. I've done a lot of music, finished a lot of things that I started. You know, so it's been good in that respect. And I think, you know, as it, you know, it's just been about getting this whole moment into some sort of perspective where you just think, well, look, I'm lucky. I can afford not to work for a minute. I've got a roof over my head. I'm pretty warm. I've got some hats. I've got some eyeliner, and you know, nothing's that bad. And I think people are. You have to remember that there's some people that are going through such a awful time right now. So, you know, I guess it's just like, you know, thank you, lucky stars in a way. That's how I feel.
I mean, obviously, there's not been as much travel. So presumably you haven't been going backwards and forwards to Australia this year.
No, we finished Australia in March, just before we went into lockdown. And then we sort of did the rest of the show by virtual. You know, we did it by virtual, and that was interesting. Obviously, I was amazed how they managed to do it. And then I've seen a lot of other shows like Strictly and a few other shows. I've also, The Voice in the UK used a similar thing with the, you know, the audience on screen. And then me and Kelly Rowland were on the seat projected. That was hilarious. Took a minute to work out like where to look when someone was speaking, but I have to say that they pulled it off. It's amazing what people can do when they really put their minds to it.
Yeah. Although it'd probably be quite nice to get back into the actual studio and be there in
Yeah,
person.
I mean, just, you know, performing, you know, it is a sort of, it's a contact sport, isn't it? You need people, you need to be able to look into people's eyes and, you know, invite them into your world. And, you know, that's obviously something that we all miss. You know, those of us that live on stage are all a bit like, well, you know, but, you know, again, it's just about, well, this is what's going on. And I'm not one of these people that, you know, sort of spends my whole time rallying against it. I've got friends who are really just like, I keep saying, can you just get over it? It's happening. Get over it and stop going on. You know, you're not the only person that's having a hard time.
Yeah, it has been annoying though, because, you know, there's lots of things we love. Like there was a whole summer of festivals and gigs that none of us could go to. Well, you couldn't perform at anything. And, you know, movies, we haven't been able to see any new releases. And so it's quite exciting for you that you're actually going to end the year with an event.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've got this gig, a live stream. A lot of people are, you know, struggle. My audience, a little bit older, you know, we got some kids as well, but they're not used to kind of watching things on the screen. Although, you know, watching TV is like live streaming, you know, watching things on YouTube, it's the same process. I think what I've been saying to any of the people that are slightly confused, to say, just find a child to hook up your TV and it will change your life. You know, I'm one of these people. Somebody says, oh, such and such a film is on Amazon Plus or whatever it may be. If I have to sign up, I won't do it. So I understand people's like, oh my God, it's so complicated. But no more complicated than getting in a car and traveling to a gig and having to go for security and all of that. At least you can watch this in your pajamas.
Yeah, or you can dress up. You can go to town if you want, and then just make yourself comfy on your sofa. It's going to be good though. So hang on, you're going to be at Wembley next Saturday, on Saturday the 19th,
Yeah,
basically.
Saturday the 19th, yeah.
And are there going to be any fans there at all?
You know, I think that the main thing is that you just got to try. You've got to try and do something because, you know, there are lots of people, you know, I know Pete Tong's got a gig on and people have done some of these live streams and that's amazing. And I think people are getting a taste for it now. And hopefully, you know, this won't go on forever. But for now, let's try and support each other. You know, we've given free tickets to anyone who's like a first responder or a health worker. So if you've got a nurse's outfit, you can, you know, anything like that, and you want to have a night in watching us sing some old songs, you be our guest. You know, it's a nice thing to do. And I think, when this originally was sort of put to me, I was like, it sounds really complicated, but now I like really want to get it done. I want to feel like, we did it. We actually rehearsed, which we're doing from Tuesday, and we did it. And I'll be amazed if we do it.
No.
I'll be amazed if we do it.
So hang on a minute. It's let me just work out. What's it called? Rainbow in.
It's called Rainbow in the Dark, and that's a weird one because I've got a song out this week with an Israeli artist, and it's called Rainbow in the Dark. It's just a weird coincidence, but when I said to my manager that, obviously he knew the single was called Rainbow, he said it's a great name for the show because Rainbow in the Dark is about, optimism in times of darkness, so it's a nice little metaphor. And, we love a rainbow.
Yeah, well, rainbows definitely have become a little bit of a motif for 2020 as well.
There's also that thing of, hope at the end of the rainbow, pot of gold, symbolizing metaphorically something uplifting and positive. Let us be your pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
I think it's the way forward, though. Everyone is beginning to come around to the idea of doing a virtual gig. Okay, it's not quite the same. Is it different not having people screaming and cheering and dancing directly in front of you?
You know what? I did some online meet and greets this morning, and they were absolutely fabulous. I was a little bit like, because it's, my generation, this sort of meet and greet thing is a new thing. It's not something I'm used to doing. But I have to say, there's something about, I suppose, this period. People are very calm, and they're really excited to talk, and there's just a sort of warmth. I mean, obviously, I know everybody says about their fans, but I have amazing fans, like the most adorable people. Like you never know who it's going to be. I'm like, how do you know about me? There was a kid this morning who was 25. And I was like, wow. I said, you don't look like one of my regular fans. But he was like, no, I'm a fan. My uncle was a fan. So I think, in the long run, people are going to appreciate it. They're going to say, I'm glad you did that. They might not be able to get their head around it now because, we've got all these vaccines coming and people feel like there's an end to it. But, we've still got a bit to go through. So, we're just trying to do something,
Yeah. Isn't it funny as well how you're saying there that, your fans, you're surprised that he was 25, but there's so much music from the 80s and 90s, which is coming back into the charts anyway. They're remixing it, or you've got another singer kind of collaborating and you're doing like a mashup together. Is that something that you would consider?
Well, it's interesting because I'm not really interested. I mean, listen, I've got nostalgia already. I've got Culture Club. I've got my gigs with Culture Club, and I dip into that. I feel very lucky that I'm able to do other things, DJing, and I do TV work, and I've got my own solo career. So in those areas, with my own solo career, I don't have to compromise. And I am I'm very passionate about new music. I think the music industry, it's too many restrictions. This is supposed to be rock and roll. There's so many people telling you can't do this and you can't do that, and we can't play this and we can't say that. Whatever happened? What has gone wrong that it's become almost like, like it's almost become like a sort of a bit of a cliche, really, pop culture. And, to be rallying against it at almost 60, I don't know, I feel kind of invigorated by it. I feel like I'm excited yesterday because I put a thing online saying, because people keep saying, don't put an album out. Nobody likes albums. And then Taylor Swift drops an album yesterday, like out of nowhere. And I'm thinking, well, if Taylor Swift's doing it, I'm putting out an album. So I have an album ready, but I wasn't sure whether people had an interest for albums. But it seems my audience wants albums. They want complete bodies of work. So it's coming at Christmas. Cool Karaoke is the name of the album. And it's all new stuff. And I'm very, very proud of it.
Oh, so hang on. When is it going to come out?
It's going to come out in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh.
Coming. I was so excited by the Taylor Swift thing. I was like, everyone keeps telling me no one's releasing albums, and Taylor Swift has just literally dropped her 9th album. Hi guys, I'm putting an album out. So there are some people who want albums, and judging by the response I got online, people were saying album, album, album. So yeah.
Also, she seems to just do that, just drop it without kind of building up all the time. And it doesn't mean that no one's going to be buying it as well. I know traditionally there used to be the hype and the build up for months and months, didn't there?
Well, obviously Taylor says, got a bigger platform than me. She's young. She's got that young audience. But, actually, I have to go back on what I said earlier, because when people say to me, what's your target audience? I'm like, everyone. I don't have a target audience. I mean, they're the ones that set the limitations. I think that's another interesting thing about our industry. You're always being told that young people can't listen to this and they don't like that. And then, you know, you come across kids that are obsessed with 70s music, obsessed with 80s music. I think the 80s aesthetic has continued to make an impact because it was such a sort of, and in a funny sort of way, it was a bit of an anything goes decade, wasn't it? It was like, it was all sort of mashed together. And I think people like that. I think people still like that idea of dressing up and, you know, people being pop stars. I think they like it secretly. They're just in denial.
I know. Well, there's so many great things about the 80s, aren't there? Whether it's the style and the music and the movies and the unbelievable fashion. And it's just such an iconic decade. Also, by the way, we are playing Christmas music nonstop at the moment on Smooth. And one of the songs, obviously, we play a lot of is Band-Aid. How did you get some of the best lines in that? Did you go, right, I want that one, or did they give you it?
I was told, literally, I got a phone call from Bob Geldof. I was in New York. I was told that I didn't even know Bob. I was just had this guy shouting on the phone saying, "You must come back to London. We're doing the studio session. It's only one day. You have to be here or you're going to regret it for the rest of your life," something along those lines. So I thought, all right, I better go back. And I don't think anybody knew what we were going back for. But, you know, now, obviously, all these years on, you see, I was talking about this yesterday. I said that, you know, what was interesting about Band-Aid, you know, that you had Bob, who was quite belligerent and, you know, he was tough. He was a tough guy. But the basis of it was, I think there was a real deep need to do something, you know, loving, you know. And so it kind of overrid all these egos. You had all these American, you know, promoters that were trying to stop it and saying it's never going to happen. And somehow, against all those odds, Bob Geldof managed to pull off this huge, not only Band-Aid, but Live Aid, which I wasn't part of, but I watched it, obviously, like everyone else. And when you see the documentaries and how much trouble he had trying to get it on and how many people were trying to get in the way and letting their egos get in the way of what was, you know, a beautiful, passionate project, it's incredible to look back and think, you know, I was part of that, you know, accidentally, and I loved it.
Yeah, no, I mean, what an amazing thing to be a part of as well. And I think you're right. If you hadn't gone back, well, you might have regretted it because it sounded like it was the thing everyone wanted in on.
Exactly. Well, they did afterwards. I think if you didn't sort of get the initial invite, it was like, no, we're oversubscribed. But the other thing, if I hadn't done that song, I wouldn't have literally every time it comes on anyway, people go on, do it. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not more.
But you also got the ooh bit as well, that line.
Yeah, it was, you know, literally went off the plane, into the car, got to some studios, was ushered in, you know, everyone was there. And then you went into the sort of studio room. They played it once, gave you your lines, get out there and, sorry about my phone, get out there and sing it. And, you know, it was quite a pressured thing because, you know, in the studio, you're a little bit pampered. You get to wait and get yourself warmed up. It was like, none of that, sing, let out, next person. It was really, you know, it was really quite military.
Well, I feel sorry for whoever, and I'm sure someone messed up and everyone was like, oh, that's not good.
No, and you know, it's sometimes these things, you know, you never know what you're walking into when you do these things, but it, you know, as I say, it's so magical. And obviously I didn't even know, I've watched a few documentaries recently, I didn't even know half of what was going on. So, you know, and you know, Live Aid, all that kind of, that was insane. How they, you know, what was, things kept breaking and it was a disaster. And, you know, they thought they weren't going to make any money. And it was just, yeah, what a day.
But no one remembers that. Everyone remembers how great it was. That's the thing.
Yeah, well, you remember, you know, obviously the iconic performance by Queen, which is great. And also, you know what? Status Quo opening the show. I mean, it's kind of awesome. Status Quo, great. You know, people like to lie about Status Quo. But when you see that opening, you know, that opening performance, you're like, you know what? People love Status Quo. They're such a British institution. And it was, for a time, it wasn't cool to say you liked them. But I think watching it back, it was awesome.
Yeah. Oh, it's been so nice to have a catch up again. And look, let me just find out if anyone wants to, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of people that want to see the gig. And what do they have to do?
They can go to our Culture Club Facebook page or Instagram. There's Ticketmaster. There's all sorts of places. There's also a website if you're a first responder or NHS where you can go and get a free ticket. So, you know, please be my guest. I mean, this is more about people watching, and it's a unique opportunity because you can do it anywhere you are. There's no, you know, have to travel anywhere. You can do it in Hong Kong, Philippines, China, Australia, and it would be quite a fun thing.
What's in store for you next year, by the way? If everything eventually goes back to normal, have you got a busy year planned?
Oh, who's that? I hope to be touring. That's something that I'm very excited about. You know, maybe some more TV work. You know, been chatting to people about them.
Oh,
So
you're popular.
cool.
Like you've got your phone and I've got my dog. Between us,
What dog have you got?
I've got a puggle. Obviously, someone has now dragged him away. He's been desperately trying to get in because he can
Oh
hear
no,
him
I want to
talking.
meet your dog. I love dogs. Dogs are amazing.
They've taken him away now. They've taken him away.
The men in the white coats.
Yeah, that's it. So hang on. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, you know, next year obviously is my 60th, so I'm going to do a record. I'm
Shut up. You're 60 next year.
next year, yeah. So I'm hoping
Look
to do.
good.
Thank you, darling. I'm hoping to do an album with Tony Visconti, who is one of my all-time heroes. He's made some of my most favorite records, and we've been working together actually virtually over the last few weeks, and that's amazing because, you know, when I was 14 listening to Bowie, you know, if you just said in about 30 years' time, you're going to be making some music with Tony Visconti, and you're going to be sort of, you know, basically talking to him about the mixes and telling him what to change, and it just feels so wrong, but it's such a lovely thing to be doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Oh, well, look, good luck next year. Good luck on Saturday and have a wonderful Christmas. Will you get to see your mum?
Yeah, I'm actually able to be in my mum's bubble. Me and one of my brothers were a big family, so you know some people have been rejected from the guest list, you know. But yeah, I'm going to be with my mum. I'm one other brother, my brother Kevin, and my sister. So yeah, it's going to be a different Christmas, but you know, Christmas for me is about like the kids, giving people presents, you know, sort of watching them enjoy it, you know, and eating far too much.
Yeah, it's
I'll
definitely.
die after New Year. I'll just wait until after New Year.
That's why I like keeping fit before Christmas because then it all goes wrong over Christmas. So
Oh
I'm like
yeah,
that.
no, even if you try and avoid it, it's just impossible.
I know, I know. Well, look, have a lovely one. Eat, drink, be merry. Enjoy the time with your mum. Good luck on Saturday, and I will definitely be catching up with you
Yeah,
next year.
absolutely, and good luck with, you know, Christmas and all of that.
Thank you so much. Lovely to see you. Bye.
Bye.